The Galactic Council chamber was vast beyond imagination. Its walls shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting the lights of distant stars, and the air buzzed with the quiet murmur of 1,000 civilizations. Delegates of every shape and size had gathered here. Tall, feathered Solari, scaled, sharp-eyed Thrill, armored insectoids like Vorn, and countless others from corners of the galaxy that humans had only begun to explore. Each of them carried the pride of their species, the weight of history, and the certainty that they were the most powerful beings in the galaxy. But today, an unusual tension hung over the chamber. Whispers moved faster than the usual decorum allowed. A single name dominated all conversations: humans. Reports had come in from distant sectors, describing fleets moving faster than expected, systems defended with extraordinary strategy, and colonies saved from destruction against overwhelming odds. The humans were not just surviving, they were rewriting the rules. At the center of the chamber stood Captain Elena Voss, the human representative. She was calm, her posture straight, her gaze steady. She did not shout, she did not plead. She simply stood, a figure of quiet strength among creatures accustomed to power. Some delegates stared in disbelief. How could a species so new, so primitive in their eyes, command the room with nothing but presence? "Humans are reckless," hissed Thrill, the sharp-tongued reptilian delegate. His scales glimmered nervously as he leaned forward. "They have no respect for protocol, no fear of consequence. If we allow them to continue, they will dominate sectors that have belonged to us for centuries." A low murmur of agreement rippled across the chamber. Most species had built their dominance through intimidation, cunning, or sheer numbers. None had ever faced a species that seemed fearless, united, and unrelenting. Humans, it seemed, did not operate under the same rules. Elena spoke softly, but her voice carried through the hall with surprising authority. "We do not seek war," she said. "We do not wish to conquer or destroy. We only ask to protect our people, our colonies, and those who cannot defend themselves. But we will not bow, and we will not retreat. Not ever." Silence fell. Every delegate turned to watch her, unable to hide their shock. It was one thing to fight, to resist, or to strategize, but to speak with such certainty in the face of hundreds of alien species, any of whom could destroy humanity in an instant. It was unprecedented. A soft, almost musical voice broke the silence. Lyria, the Solari ambassador, tilted her feathered head. "Have they understood the weight of their words?" She whispered to the delegation next to her. Her eyes, bright as twin moons, betrayed worry. Fear was spreading quietly through the chamber, a strange new sensation for creatures used to wielding unquestioned authority. Elena did not flinch. She looked around the room, making brief eye contact with each delegate. "We understand your power," she said, her tone calm, almost gentle. "We understand your history, your strength, your pride. But we also understand something more important, that no matter how powerful you are, you cannot break the will of those who refuse to yield. Humanity will endure. Humanity will rise, always." Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others whispered urgently to one another, their voices full of doubt. This human woman, standing alone among them, had done something no one thought possible. She had made them fear. Not fear of weapons, not fear of retaliation, but fear of something deeper, the fear of an unyielding spirit. In the back of the chamber, Vorn, the insectoid general, hissed under his breath. "They are only one species. How can they be so strong? How can they refuse to bend?" Elena turned slightly, almost as if she had heard him. She allowed herself the smallest faint smile. "We are humans," she whispered to herself, "and we will not bow." Outside the chamber, across the stars, the humans were already preparing. Fleets were mobilized, colonies fortified, and civilians trained. The galaxy might not yet know the full measure of humanity, but soon it would learn. The first spark of fear had been lit in the hearts of the powerful, and it would grow. The Council, once confident, now felt uncertainty creep into its ranks. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy's rulers were facing a truth they could not ignore. Humanity refused to yield, and that simple refusal could change everything. The galaxy was changing quietly but irrevocably. Across distant star systems, whispers of human courage traveled faster than starships. Colonies that had lived under constant threat now spoke of humans as saviors, protectors who appeared when hope seemed lost. Yet, for the Galactic Council, these stories were a storm cloud on the horizon, dark and threatening. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, her eyes scanning the vast starfield. The hum of the engines was steady, almost comforting, as fleets of human ships moved in perfect formation behind her. Each vessel was a symbol, not just of technology, but of discipline, of courage, and of a species that refused to yield. Reports from the front lines were staggering. Human squadrons had rescued entire colonies from marauding alien raiders. In the Sidera sector, a fleet of 800 alien warships had been forced to retreat after a coordinated human strike that seemed almost choreographed. No other species could match their precision, their bravery, or their willingness to fight against impossible odds. Within the Galactic Council chamber, tension simmered like a supernova, ready to explode. "We cannot allow them to continue," growled Vorn, the insectoid general. His segmented body trembled with barely contained fury. "They are new, they are reckless, and they inspire rebellion. One day they will take what is ours if we do not act." Others argued in hushed tones. "Their numbers are small," one ambassador whispered. "Yet every encounter ends the same way. They survive, they win, they endure. They do not strike for power. They strike for protection. And somehow, the galaxy listens." Elena's calm, collected presence had already begun to erode centuries of arrogance. Every victory humans achieved was not just a tactical win, it was a moral lesson to the rest of the galaxy. Humans never slaughtered for sport. They never demanded submission. Their victories came with choices, mercy, and respect for life, and that more than weapons terrified their opponents. On a distant frontier world, refugees whispered about human fleets. Children pointed to the sky with wide eyes. "The humans are coming," they said. "They will save us." Adults who had long believed the galaxy was cruel and unjust began to hope again. The ripple of faith spread, quietly challenging the Council's authority, and planting seeds of admiration and fear across the stars. On the bridge of the Resolute, Elena addressed her crew, her voice calm but firm. "We are humans," she said. "We fight because we must. We protect because we can, and we endure because we will not bow. Remember that. The galaxy may try to break us, but we will show them that courage, honor, and unity cannot be destroyed." Lieutenant Kieran, her second-in-command, nodded. "Captain, the Council is preparing a coalition fleet. They are planning to strike first." Elena's gaze did not falter. "Let them come," she said softly. "We do not fear them. Fear is theirs now, not ours." Across the Council chamber, debates grew louder. Some delegates demanded immediate military action. Others argued for caution, suggesting diplomacy or observation. Every report of human victories, every story of compassion and resilience, deepened the unease. Even the oldest, most powerful species, who had never known doubt, now felt a creeping uncertainty. Fear had a name, and its name was human. Not because humans were cruel, or because they sought domination, but because they refused to yield. They refused to submit. They refused to allow injustice to continue unchecked. That simple, unshakable defiance spread like wildfire, igniting hope in the oppressed and doubt in the mighty. And far beyond the Council chamber, across countless star systems, humans prepared for what was coming. Ships were armed, colonies reinforced, and citizens trained. Not for conquest, but for survival and protection. The galaxy might still underestimate humanity, but the first seeds of true resistance, the first hints of unstoppable courage, had already taken root. Captain Elena Voss stood at the helm, staring into the dark infinity of space. She whispered to herself, as if speaking to every human who would follow, "We are not afraid. The galaxy may try to stop us, but humanity will rise. Always." The Galactic Council had made its decision. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of countless star systems would unite against a single species: humanity. The coalition fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 500 ships, massive and deadly, each armed with weapons capable of obliterating entire planets. Their commanders were seasoned, their tactics ruthless, and their pride unmatched. Yet across the dark void of space, the humans waited calmly. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her gaze fixed on the distant glimmer of the approaching fleet. Behind her, squadrons of smaller vessels formed perfect patterns, ready to respond to any threat. Every crew member knew the stakes, yet there was no fear in their eyes, only determination. "This is it," Elena said softly, her voice carrying the weight of command. "They think they can break us. They think we will yield. They are wrong. Lieutenant Kieran, standing beside her, swallowed nervously but nodded. Captain, they outnumber us 10-1, even with our tactics. Elena turned to him with a calm, unwavering smile. Numbers do not win wars. Will, courage, and unity do. Remember that. The alien coalition advanced, a massive wall of firepower and steel stretching across the stars. Their engines glowed like molten suns and weapons primed to fire with deadly precision. The humans could feel the tension through the comms, could sense the fear the enemy was trying to hide behind pride. But humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived, protected, and thrived. They would do it again. When the first missiles streaked toward the human fleet, the response was immediate, precise, and disciplined. Human ships maneuvered in ways the coalition had not anticipated. Missiles were intercepted mid-flight, enemy formations disrupted, and every strike countered with skill that seemed almost intuitive. From the flagship of the coalition, the commanders could not understand. They are too coordinated, too precise. How can such a young species fight with this level of strategy? One of them demanded, her voice trembling. Elena's voice came across their communications channels, calm and firm. We fight because it is right. We protect because we can. You may have numbers, but we have courage. You may have firepower, but we have heart, and that will never be defeated, the alien fleet faltered. Not immediately, but slowly. Confusion spread as human ships outmaneuvered larger vessels, striking with surgical accuracy. Even the most seasoned commanders began to doubt their plans. Every human maneuver was an assertion of will, a clear message. Humanity would not bow, would not retreat, and would not surrender. Across the galaxy, messages poured in from observing species. Colonies cheered from afar. Children stared at the skies, eyes wide with hope. Even the oppressed and the enslaved whispered human names, their hearts lifted for the first time in generations. Humans were not just fighting, they were inspiring. Within the coalition, fear grew. Not fear of death, not fear of loss, but fear of something more powerful. Fear of the unbreakable human spirit. How could a species so small, so new, resist, endure, and dominate with honor and restraint? That fear spread like a virus, turning doubt into chaos among the enemy ranks. Elena's eyes remained on the stars. Every maneuver, every signal, every order was calm, precise, and purposeful. Today, she said quietly, almost to herself, we show them why humanity refuses to yield. Today, they will learn the meaning of courage. As the battle raged, it became clear. This was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for respect, for recognition, and for the truth that humanity would no longer be underestimated. The galaxy had made a mistake in thinking humans were weak. The humans were not just strong, they were unbreakable. And through it all, Captain Elena Voss remained steadfast, a symbol of hope, determination, and the unyielding human spirit. She knew the outcome of this battle would echo for generations. Not because of the ships destroyed, not because of the territory won, but because the galaxy would finally understand humans do not yield, and they never will. The battle had raged for days, stretching across star systems, asteroid belts, and the void between them. The coalition fleet, the largest in recorded history, had expected a swift victory. They had underestimated humanity. Every strategy they deployed, every formation they perfected was met with precise counters from human forces. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes scanning the chaos of space ahead. Explosions flared like distant suns lighting the dark expanse, yet the human fleet moved with calm precision. Ships shifted, pivoted, and struck with deadly timing, guided not just by computers but by the coordination of a people who had learned to trust one another completely. Lieutenant Kieran turned to her, worry etched across his face. Captain, they're breaking their own formations. They're confused. And scared. Elena's gaze did not waver. Fear is a weapon, she said quietly. And right now it belongs to them, not us. The coalition commanders had never faced an enemy like this. For centuries they had dominated through superior numbers, overwhelming firepower, and sheer terror. Yet here were humans outnumbered 10-1, moving with a unity and courage that no weapon could destroy. Each strike against them only seemed to strengthen their resolve. On the observation decks of the Galactic Council, delegates watched in disbelief. The chamber, once full of confident chatter, was now heavy with silence. Even the proud Vorn, who had demanded the fleet attack without delay, recoiled as reports streamed in. Entire wings of the coalition were retreating or surrendering to humans they had expected to crush effortlessly. Lyria, the Solari ambassador, whispered to her fellow delegates, her voice trembling. I've never seen such strategy, such fearlessness. They fight not to conquer but to protect, and yet they dominate. Every human action carried meaning. A squadron saved an unarmed colony from destruction, leaving the invaders stunned. Another group outmaneuvered a fleet 3 times its size, disabling weapons without unnecessary destruction. The humans were not just surviving. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson in courage, honor, and unyielding spirit. Across the stars, whispers turned into shouts of hope. Refugee colonies, long oppressed, saw the humans as protectors, as beacons of strength. Even distant worlds watching from beyond the battle began to reconsider their loyalty to the Council. A single species, small by comparison, had begun to shift the balance of an entire galaxy. From the bridge, Elena gave orders with calm authority. Focus on defense, protect our weaker ships, and maintain formation. Let them exhaust themselves. Every human captain understood immediately, executing maneuvers as if they were extensions of Elena's will. In the coalition flagship, confusion and fear spread like wildfire. Commanders questioned each other. How can they be everywhere at once? How can they anticipate every strike? The insects of Vorn's race hissed and flailed, unable to comprehend the human strategy. Pride and arrogance had blinded them, and now fear consumed them. Elena's voice, calm and unwavering, reached the enemy fleet through the comm channels. You came to break us. You came to force us to yield. You have failed. This is your choice now. Stop or continue to fight against a people who will not surrender. Fear is yours to bear. Silence followed her words. It spread not only through the coalition but across the Council, reaching even those who had doubted humanity. This battle was no longer about ships, numbers, or territory. It was about spirit, resolve, and the understanding that humanity would not yield. Ever. And in the midst of the chaos, Captain Elena Voss allowed herself a small, quiet smile. The galaxy had underestimated them, yet they had already begun to learn the most important lesson. Humans may be new, humans may be small, but humans were unbreakable. And that truth would echo far beyond this battle, shaking the hearts of all who thought power alone could command the stars. The Galactic Council had never been so divided. The battle against humanity had shattered their illusion of control. Reports came in from across the coalition fleet. Entire divisions had surrendered, others had fled, and some had even begun to defect to the human side. For the first time in millennia, the Council faced uncertainty. Fear had taken root among the most powerful species in the galaxy. In the chamber, voices rose and fell in anger and confusion. "We cannot allow this," shouted Vorn, his many eyes blazing with frustration. "They are only humans. How can they defy us at every turn? This is impossible." Other delegates, more cautious, whispered among themselves. "Perhaps we misjudge them," said Lyria, her feathers trembling. "Perhaps humanity is something new, something we do not fully understand." Elena Voss aboard the Resolute received a message from the Council's head, the Solari elder Lyria herself. The message carried both awe and caution. "Humans, you have changed the rules of this galaxy. Your courage and unity are unlike anything we have ever seen. We must reconsider our actions. We must speak." Elena read the message quietly. She allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. She knew this moment was more than just a tactical victory. It was a moral and political turning point. Humans had not only survived, they had shifted the balance of power through honor, resolve, and spirit. She replied simply, "We do not seek to rule, to conquer, or to dominate. We only ask to exist, to grow, and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is all a human demands." Across the Council, delegates argued furiously. Some called for renewed attacks, desperate to restore pride and authority. Others urged negotiation, fearful of pushing humanity further and risking complete humiliation. The chamber, once united in purpose, was now fractured, echoing with doubt and indecision. On distant worlds, the effects were already visible. Colonies once oppressed by Council mandates began to resist in subtle ways. Messages of support for humanity reached the Council from unexpected places. The humans were no longer just another species. They were a symbol of hope, courage, and defiance against tyranny. Elena addressed her fleet, her voice calm but resolute. We have won more than battles. We have shown the galaxy that humans cannot be broken. We will continue to protect those who need us, and we will continue to rise. Our strength lies not just in ships and weapons, but in heart, courage, and unity. Lieutenant Kieran nodded. Captain, some council worlds are contacting us directly. They want alliances, guidance, even protection. Elena's eyes softened. That is the change we sow. Not conquest, not revenge. Respect and hope. Let them see that courage and honor can shift the galaxy. Back in the council chamber, the divisions were deepening. Delegates who had long assumed superiority now questioned their place. Fear of human strength combined with admiration for their moral code created a complicated web of emotions. Some were inspired, some intimidated, but all knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. Even Vorn, who had once demanded immediate destruction, began to reconsider. He watched as fleets of humans moved with precision, as colonies celebrated freedom, and as the galaxy subtly realigned itself. A grudging respect began to grow, buried beneath layers of pride and stubbornness. Elena, on the bridge of the Resolute, looked out at the stars. The battle was not yet over, but the war of influence had already begun. Humanity had proven its power, not through domination, but through courage, unity, and the refusal to yield. Her voice, quiet but firm, carried across the comms. The galaxy may fear us. They may resist us, but they cannot break us. Humans endure, humans rise, and humanity will never yield. Far across the stars, fear and respect now danced together in the hearts of the Council. Humanity had planted a seed that could not be removed. The understanding that courage, honor, and unity could challenge even the greatest powers in the galaxy. And from that seed, a new era was beginning. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone could have imagined. What began as fear of humanity had now transformed into something deeper, respect. Across countless star systems, the legend of human courage and unyielding spirit spread like wildfire. Planets that had once whispered in secret now spoke openly about the humans who refused to bow, who defended the weak, and who stood tall against overwhelming odds. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the stars streak past as her fleet moved toward a distant colony in need. The human ships gleamed under starlight, their movements precise, coordinated, and confident. The fleet was more than steel and firepower. It was a symbol. Each ship represented not just a species but an ideal: courage, unity, and the refusal to yield. Captain, Lieutenant Kieran said softly, the colonies we rescued, they're sending messages of thanks. They say your actions inspired them to rise against oppressors. Elena's eyes softened. We do not fight for glory, she said. We fight to protect. But if our actions inspire hope, that is a gift we gladly accept. Across the galaxy, the Council was struggling to adapt. Delegates who had once viewed humans as a minor threat now hesitated to speak. Fear had shifted into a cautious admiration. The Thrill, who had advocated for immediate attack, now found themselves reconsidering. Even Vorn, the proud insectoid general, observed humanity with a grudging respect he would never admit aloud. In secret meetings, Council factions debated. Some suggested offering alliances, others argued for peace treaties. All agreed on one undeniable truth: humans could not be crushed by conventional means. Their strength was not measured by fleets alone, but by spirit, strategy, and an unbreakable sense of unity. Elena addressed her fleet, her voice calm but imbued with determination. We do not conquer, we do not enslave, and we do not bow. The galaxy will fear us when we are threatened, yes, but they will respect us because we endure, because we protect, and because we never yield. Remember that. That is what makes us human. Messages arrived from distant worlds seeking guidance and protection. Refugees, once resigned to lives of oppression, now dared to dream of freedom. The humans' actions had sparked a revolution of hope, and the Council could only watch, powerless to stop a tide that was not born of violence but of courage. Even those who had once fought against humans began to recognize their unmatched spirit. They fight with honor, whispered a Solari delegate to a colleague. They do not take what is not theirs. Yet they are stronger than any of us. We cannot destroy them without destroying our own conscience. Elena looked out across the bridge, her hand resting lightly on the controls. She thought of every colony saved, every battle endured, and every life protected. The galaxy was no longer the same. Humanity had not just survived, they had reshaped the perception of power itself. Fear, once the tool of the mighty, had become a mirror reflecting human resilience and honor. Lieutenant Kieran leaned closer. "Captain, do you think the Council will ever try to attack us again?" Elena smiled faintly, eyes still on the stars. "Perhaps. But they will think twice. They now understand that strength is not just in firepower. It is in courage, unity, and heart. And those no one can break." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, a vast ocean of possibilities. Humanity's story was still being written, and every action, every choice would shape the galaxy for generations to come. Wherever humans went, hope followed. Wherever humans stood, courage and honor became the standard. And for the first time, the galaxy began to realize the truth. Humans were not just a species. They were a force of spirit. Fear had once spread because of their defiance, but now respect flowed in its place, strong and undeniable. Elena whispered to herself, a quiet vow carried across the void. The galaxy has learned our strength. They have learned our heart. And humanity will never yield. Years had passed since the great battle that had shaken the Galactic Council and changed the galaxy forever. Humans were no longer the newcomers, the species underestimated and dismissed. They had grown, not only in strength but in reputation. Across countless star systems, their name inspired hope, courage, and respect. Where once fear had spread, now admiration and honor followed in humanity's wake. Captain Elena Voss, older and wiser now, stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, gazing at the endless expanse of stars. Young humans prepared for a diplomatic mission to a distant system, their faces bright with determination and curiosity. Elena felt a swell of pride. They were the new generation, ready to carry forward the ideals she had fought to protect: courage, honor, and the unyielding human spirit. "We've come far," Lieutenant Kieran said quietly, standing beside her. "Do you think the galaxy truly understands us now?" Elena smiled softly. "Some do, some still doubt. But the lesson has been taught. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not yield. And that truth will never be forgotten." Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council had been forever changed. Once a body of proud, rigid, and controlling powers, it now included humans as equals. Their perspective, their courage, and their unyielding moral compass had reshaped politics, alliances, and the very idea of leadership. Even those who had once fought against humans now spoke of them in cautious respect. The Thrill, the Vorn, and many others had learned that true strength was not measured by numbers alone, but by heart, unity, and the courage to stand for what is right. The galaxy's oldest powers had been humbled, not by destruction, but by the enduring spirit of a single species. On colonies once oppressed, children learned the story of humans who refused to yield. Teachers spoke of battles where courage overcame fear, and where honor triumphed over cruelty. Statues of human heroes were erected not to glorify war, but to inspire hope. The humans had shown that one species, united in spirit and heart, could change the galaxy. Elena watched as a young fleet prepared to depart. Ships gleamed under the starlight, ready to deliver aid, defend those in need, and expand humanity's reputation of honor. "Do they understand the weight of what they carry?" Kieran asked. "They will learn," Elena said quietly. "Every mission, every choice, every act of courage will teach them. Humanity's strength is not just in ships or weapons. It is in the heart, the will, and the courage to stand even when all odds are against us." As the fleet departed, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the hope humanity had spread. Elena took a deep breath. The galaxy was not perfect. Conflicts still existed, and dangers still loomed. But the course had changed. Fear of humanity had been replaced with respect. Hope had been restored. And across the stars, the unyielding spirit of one species had become a beacon for all. A quiet comm signal came in from a distant colony, a simple message carried across light years. "Thank you, humans. You have given us hope, and we will never forget." Elena smiled. That was the true victory, not in ships destroyed or territory gained, but in hearts changed, minds inspired, and a galaxy awakened to the power of courage and honor. She stood looking out at the stars, whispering a promise to herself and to all who would follow. The galaxy has seen our strength, our honor, and our heart. Humanity does not yield, and we never will. From that moment, a new era began. Across the galaxy, beings of every shape, color, and thought recognized that strength was not in dominance but in courage, unity, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Where humans went, hope and honor would follow. Where humans stood, fear was replaced with respect. And so a single species, small by comparison but mighty in heart, had changed the course of the galaxy forever.